The SNS Secrets Lab by Cloudgoat is a fun and creative lab to work through. So let's go through it together. The first thing that you want to do is you want to spin up the lab. Cloudgoat, create SNS secrets. While that is spinning up, we're going to go over what SNS is. So here are my notes. So SNS is a simple notification service. It's a messaging service for A2A, which is application to application, or A2P, application to person. What is SNS? It's fully managed messaging service provided by AWS. If you're going to be hacking into something, you have to understand it, right? So before we do this, we're going to understand a little bit about what SNS is. For sending notifications and messages to a large number of recipients or systems, it enables you to decouple applications by allowing publishers to send messages to subscribers through a push-based model supporting both A2A and A2P. So here's some key features. Pub-sub messaging. SNS follows a publish-subscribe model where publishers send messages to topics. Topics are basically threads. And subscribers. Applications, users, or devices are the subscribers. So an application could subscribe to SNS, an SNS topic, or a user or a device could subscribe to an SNS topic to receive the messages from the publisher. The supported protocols are as follows: email and email JSON, SMS, HTTPS, Amazon SQS, AWS Lambda, and mobile push notifications. Common use cases: real-time notifications, sending alerts or updates to users via email, SMS, or push notifications. Application integration, coordinating distributed systems by triggering AWS Lambda functions, SQS, or HTTP endpoints. Event-driven architectures, enabling microservices to communicate, and in those communications, they could trigger workflows in response to events. And mobile push notifications, delivering notifications to mobile apps for user engagement. This is how SNS works. So the system that we're trying to infiltrate here, because we are ethical hackers, we don't hack with hate, we hack with love. This is the way that system works. You create a topic, which is basically a thread. A topic is a communication channel for sending messages. You subscribe endpoints. Subscribers, SQS queries, Lambda functions, email addresses, they subscribe to that topic. Then you publish messages. The publisher that created the topic publishes the messages, and the subscribers receive those messages. Filter and process. Subscribers can process messages or apply filters to receive only specific messages. So our goal is to try to subscribe to the topic of the AWS environment that we're trying to infiltrate in hopes that we get leaked credentials. Here are some common vulnerabilities. I'm not going to go over these in this video, but if you're interested in my common vulnerabilities list, just send me a message or put a message in the comments or something like that, and with a way to get a hold of you, with a way to send it, and I'll do what I can to get this common vulnerabilities for SNS sent to you, which can be very helpful if you are looking for the vulnerabilities in an AWS system. Okay, back to the notes. At this point, our lab should get spun up and we should be able to get to our ethical hacking. So here we want our initial access credentials. And just like in a real pen test, Cloudgoat spits out low-level access. I'm going to copy this into my notes. No, that's not found credentials. Those are initial credentials. Right into my notes. So now it's enumeration time. We've already done this part of the enumeration. We have an idea as to what SNS is. So now we can start enumerating. So first thing we're going to do is open Paku and set keys. So if you already have Paku downloaded, this is how you open Paku. Paku, and we're going to do a new one. New session. We're going to name this SNS Secrets Walkthrough. And now we're going to set the keys. Set _ keys. Key alias, we're going to name this alias is going to be named SNS. That's the name of these set of keys for us. We're going to drop this into the proper place here. There's our access key. There's our secret key. We don't need a session token. We're all set. Now we want to make sure that it went well, and it did. Now I'm going to copy this and put this in my notes. Why am I going to do that? Because I've had a good teacher, Tyler Ramsby. You should check out his channel. Most of the stuff that I know here is thanks to him. At least the AWS pen testing stuff is because of him. And he taught me the importance of good solid notes. So open Paku, set keys, bam. Open Paku, set keys. Now it's enumeration time. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to enumerate permissions. And the way that we're going to do that is run IAM _ enumerate. I think it's just enum _ permissions. And the power of Paku does half an hour worth of ethical hacking in a few seconds. And here we see that there are 11 confirmed permissions. So how do we access those permissions? We could hit data, or we could hit who am I. And now we have the who am I information with our permissions. Here's some SNS permissions. List subscriptions by topic, get user policy, list topics, list attach user policy. Here's the one that we're looking for. We've got a wildcard, resources, wildcard. That means we can subscribe to all topics. We can get, again, another wildcard, API gateway. That's a good thing. List user policies, get topic attributes, list groups for users. Deny, here's all the things that we can't do. Getting API keys, methods, resources, etc. But we've got a few chinks in the armor here, and we can point our spear in that direction and we can see what happens. But before we do that, it's best practice to drop this into our notes. And I like to make sure that my whole command is in there. Run IAM enum permissions. That is the command that got me the permissions. So there, I'm dropping that in my notes. Here's the command, the summary of what the module found us, and then the details of what the module found us. So we know that we want to subscribe to an SNS topic. We know that we can subscribe to an SNS topic. So now it's time to enumerate SNS. Now we're pointing our spear in that direction. So how do we enumerate SNS? Paku is great. Check this out. Search. What are we trying? Where are we pointing our spear? We're pointing it to SNS. So search SNS. And here we have SNS enumeration and SNS subscribe. We want to do both of these, but we're probably going to want to enumerate SNS before we subscribe to SNS. So we just did search SNS, so now we help and SNS underscore enum, and this will describe to us how to use that tool. We just typed in this, and then here is what came out. Just got to specify the region with the run command, and that's how we do it. Run SNS underscores enum region US-East-1. Okay, here's our command. Run SNS enum. Found one topic. Perfect. I copy that. I'm going to drop it into our notes. Enumerate SNS. We've done it. We've enumerated SNS. So now we know that there's a topic. We know that we can subscribe to any topic because of our permissions that we enumerated. So now we want to subscribe to topic via the help screen for that command. Help SNS subscribe. Prerequisite model SNS enum. Pakus, so run all or specific topics, and then you drop in your email address. Exactly what you see right here. So we're subscribed to the topic, and now we have a finding. My findings are always H3s. Finding. And what is the finding? It is the API gateway key. Enter, tab, 3 backticks, and here's our key. Nope, that's not our key. And there's our key. Okay, so what are we going to do with this key? Well, we're going to try to invoke the API gateway. We're going to try to invoke the API using the gateway key. But in order to do that, we have some more enumeration to do. So I'm going to make an H2 here. I'm going to call this API enumeration. We can't do this in Paku because we don't have the permissions to do it. So we're going to do it. We're going to do it via the AWS terminal. And once we've enumerated all the data that we need for the command that will invoke the gateway, then we should receive some more findings. So what is the information that we need? Well, I'll show you. API enumeration. Let's gather some information about what that API enumeration information needs to be. Okay, so this is what we ultimately want to do. Ultimately, we want to invoke the API. So here, and you can find this using ChatGPT or any of the other AIs. To invoke the API, here's the proper syntax for it. curl, C-U-R-L, -x, the HTTP method, which in this case is going to be get, https ... the API ID, so that we need the API's ID, .execute API, the region, which is going to be US-East-1, .amazon aws.com, / we need the stage name, and then we need the resource path. And then here are some more options for this particular command. We're only going to be using the header, XAPI key, and then this is where we put the API key, the leaked information that we received. So now we have a path of enumeration. This is the information that we need in order to do this, and in order to run this command. That should give us our information. And here, right here, we've got our template variables. So for instance, right up here, curl-x HTTP method. Here we have HTTP method right here. HTTP verb, get, post, put, delete. We're going to be using get. All of this is in this chart. When I typed in the question into my AI and asked it to tell me what's the best command to invoke our API, it spat out all kinds of information, and this table was included in that information. Very helpful. Thank you, AI engineers. So let's do it. We'll start our enumeration now. The first thing that we want is to get our REST APIs. So we're in API enumeration. We want our REST APIs, which is basically the ID, I believe. All right, so now we're in the AWS terminal, and we can't just start doing this. First, we've set the keys in Paku, but we have not set the keys in our terminal. So AWS configure profile SNS underscore secrets. Okay, it's come up with an access key before because I've run through this scenario a few times myself. But this is a new lab environment. And when it spins up a new lab environment, it gives you a new set of access keys, new sets of IDs, other things like that. For the various resources that are going to be in US-East-1 and JSON, for the various resources that are spun up in the AWS cloud environment. Okay, so we've just configured. Now AWS STS, I believe it's get caller identity profile, not profile, but profile SNS underscore secrets. Make sure that it worked. Please work. Sweet. Okay, we're in. Okay, so now we want the REST APIs. So here is the command for enumerating the REST APIs. AWS API gateway. Get REST APIs. Region US-East-1 profile SNS underscore secrets. There we go. I'm gonna drop that in our notes. Okay, under API enumeration, REST API, bam, there it is. And this is what we're looking for right here. Here's the API ID. We need that for our command. And our command for the stages enumeration is AWS API gateway get stages REST API ID. We're going to have to put our REST API ID in there. Region US-East-1 profile SNS secrets. We can get our REST API ID from our terminal or from our notes. Our terminal's right here. And so we'll drop it in right here. What did I do wrong here? I see what I did wrong. There's not an S in US. That should take care of that. There's that honeypot. That's what we're looking for. Go ahead and drop this into our notes. There's our stages. Deployment ID, stage name. Gives us some good information here that we're going to use here in a minute. And now we're going to enumerate our resource path. This is where we get our path. Enter, tab, 3 backticks. Back to our CLI. And here is our attack path. Enumeration command. AWS API Gateway. API Gateway. Get resources. REST API ID grab our ID, drop her on in there, region US-East-1 profile dash profile SNS secrets. Did I type it right? We did. All right. This gives us sweet info. That's what we need. All right. Resource path enumeration. Did we get it? Oh yeah, we did. AWS API Gateway, get resources. Here's an ID, a parent ID. Path part path. / user data. We need that information as well. So remember what we're trying to do here? Why we went through all this enumeration? Because we needed the information in order to get this right here. Right. So we'll copy that, drop it into our CLI, and simply fill in the blanks. So I'm just going into my notes here so I don't have to switch back and forth constantly. All I'm doing is copying right now the API Gateway key. And I'm just going to paste it right into this guy here. Just like that. I'm probably going to make a few errors here, but we'll correct them as we go. And at the end, we'll be ready Freddy. Okay, what's our path? / user - data. There's our path. What's our stage name? I think our stage name is this right here, because it says stage name there. So that must be our stage name. Oh, that's right. This is not a Windows machine. I can't just do it like that. Control-Shift-V. There's our stage name. Region. We know that our region is US-East-1. And what's our API ID? Do you guys remember? Our API ID is, I'm going into my notes, or you can get it from the CLI. I'm going to get it from my notes. There's our API ID. And got one left here. HTTP method. Remember that? Could be many things, but we're using get. So that should be it. curl-x get. Here is the URL for that API. Header. We're telling it to put into the header, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is probably TCP/IP protocol, and in the header of the TCP/IP, which includes a handshake, we'll get the, I could be wrong about that, the API key put in there so it knows that we should have access. Let's see if this works. Oh yeah, baby, first try. So when invoking the API, what does it return? Final flag. SNS secrets are fun, aren't they? That was creative, wasn't it? Access granted. User data. Email. Okay, so here is some user data. So if this were real and we were gonna continue to penetrate, here's the email for superadmin@notrealemail.com with password 123. Here's the user ID 1337. For those of you who know, you know. Username superadmin. There we go. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to copy this. I'm going to put it into my notes. Invoke API key. So this is how we invoke the API key. Right here, I'm not going to do this on this video, but this is where you would write up a conclusion or a summary or an executive review of the account, letting your client know how you got to where you got to, the full attack path, and you can give them instructions on what they should do to patch up this path and best practices to make sure that they don't need future patching. Because if it's open here, it could be open in other places. If you just keep doing the same thing, the next time they make a topic, they could make the same vulnerabilities if they don't know how to set up their permissions in a way that is secure. Well, that's that, my friends. Thank you for watching. The purpose of this video was to show potential employers that I have the skills that I claim to have. And for others out there who are watching, the idea is to show you a thing or two. Hopefully you learned something. And gosh darn it, don't hack with hate, my friends. You'll be cursing yourself if you do that. Instead, hack with love. Make the world a better place. And God bless the work of your hands. Shalom.